Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
Hi guys, welcome back to Trace Amigos. I think this is our seventh, eighth edition. I'm not sure, but we're going to be doing the prep for Mississippi State and doing a little bit of looking back at what our preseason prediction was and kind of where we're at midseason. My name's Matt Fulmer. I was a high school coach for about 10 years before I got into the insurance game, and I own a Rollo Insurance Agency here in Hallsville. I'll let the other two guys introduce themselves in a minute, but I just kind of wanted to recognize my boy Mark here. With Rollo, we've talked about it through the other podcast about how we feel Rollo is different and what's different about Rollo. And so Rollo came out with the Rollo 12 rules this year, or the Rollo rules, and there's 12 of them. Seth, you want to pull those up for me?
Absolutely.
And it kind of gives an insight on what's different about Rollo. And I hope that people that have dealt with us can attest this is not just lip service. If you're dealing with a Rollo agent, this is truly what we believe. And I think it separates us and makes us different than any 1-800 number or any agent you might deal with anywhere else. So, all right, so as you can see here, we've got 12 rules. You can look them over. One is God is good. You should be too. And then the last one is do right, period. And every one of them has kind of a different idea to it, and you read through them. But I think, these are truly what we try to stand by and what we follow. And a little background on Mr. Coach Mark Brown. He called me 3 or 4 or 5, been about 4 years now, and he knew I'd gotten out of coaching and got into insurance. And he texted me and he said, "What would you say to a coach that's thinking about getting out of coaching and getting into insurance?" And my first two things were make sure your family's on board with it and pray about it. Make sure that's the path that the Lord has for you. And he's come on board, and one of the things Rollo asked me about Mark when they were talking to him about allowing him to open up an agency there in Carthage, or an office in Carthage, was, tell me about Mark. And the one thing that I always have said about Mark from the time I met him, that dude will always do what's right. Whether it's a comfortable situation, an uncomfortable situation, whatever the situation is, he's going to do what's right, no matter what the ramifications for that is. And so at this last meeting, Rollo has been trying to promote these rules and show examples through the agency, and they brought Mark up, and he got a gold coin with Rule 12, do right. And he had somebody come into his office, wasn't even his client. He was making $0 off the deal, but it was an individual that needed some help, and Mark took time out of his day to help that person, knowing there was no guarantee he was going to make any money off the deal, and help that person get what they needed to help that individual. And so just want to recognize Mark for that. I think that's great example of what we do here at Rollo, and thanks for representing the brand in Panola County. So Mark, if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, and then Seth, you can tell us a little bit about this theme song we've had some people ask about. So go ahead, Mark.
I'm here in Carthage, Texas, City of Champions, and home of the #1 ranked Carthage Bulldogs, just as a side note. So I coached for 20 years, and then like Matt said, Matt kind of told my story. It was time for me to make a change. You look at your coaching career, and I love coaching, and there's never a minute I ever spent of all those hours that I didn't enjoy what I did, but it takes a lot of time away from your family. And I'd done pretty much everything that I'd wanted to do, so I wanted to get into the insurance business for some reason. That was just an avenue. My father-in-law had sold independent insurance, and came aboard here with Rollo. It allows me a chance to be an independent, which means I work for the client first, not for just my carrier. We're not a captive. We're not like State Farm or Farmers or Farm Bureau. We have options. And those options, to me, are the principle of American capitalism. Our clients come to us, and we look at a broad market to get them the best coverage for the best rate, and we try to take care of our clients each and every year. We spent a lot of time this last year in the hard market quoting our current clients, which is hard, which takes time, but it's the right thing to do for our clients to make sure that we're doing the best that we can do for them. It's a lot of extra effort, but being an independent agent, that's the value of it. The second thing was Matt. He hooked me up with the people at Rollo. I met them. I met Jason Rollo and Jackson Rollo and Keith Lane, and those guys embody my value system. We say it as God, family, country, and that encompasses a lot, but we those people really embody that on a day-to-day basis, and we want to work for our clients. We want to do good for our clients. I think Rollo and the agency, we were at, obviously, as Matt just showed you, we were at a production summit last week, and just getting to be around other Rollo agents from all over the state and from other states. Man, we built a great team at Rollo. There's a lot of great agents and associates, account managers, and people who make this job enjoyable. Insurance has been hard and it's tough, but this is the people make the difference, and that's always going to be the way it is. As we used to say in coaching when you first start out, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. And I think Rollo's got the right Jimmies and Joes. So I love this company. I love what we do. I love getting a chance to help people. And yeah, sometimes you help people and it doesn't make any money, but in the long run, that pays off. I believe that God rewards that, and I think it's the right thing to do. If I can help somebody, I tell people all the time when I don't get their business, if they have a question about insurance, even though some other agent has them, call me. I will help.
Right.
I will take time out of my day to teach you what to say, what not to say, because it's the right thing to do. And so we care about our clients, we care about our people, and we want to do the best. We can't always make the market what we want, but we're going to do our best to do the right thing for the people that we interact with, and we want to build relationships over a long period of time with our clients.
All right, Seth. So tell us, give us a little intro about yourself, obviously, where you're at, all that, and then tell us how we came up with this amazing theme song.
Well, my name is Seth Drennan. I was a coach for 16 years, and now I'm still coaching. It's just a different sport, not a different arena, I should say. That's what we basically do. I will say, if you are an employer and you are thinking about hiring a former coach, it's probably a good hire, because one thing coaches are used to doing is getting the job done, solving the problems, and working crazy hours if we need to do it. So that's one thing that, coming from the coaching world, if there's coaching high school football, like you mentioned last episode, Matt, it prepares you for so much outside of this place too, outside of the high school or outside of the football arena. But yeah, so this podcast, a little history lesson for the Trace Amigos, went from absolute initial idea to recording in 4 days. Like, I think it was a Thursday that the idea got promoted, and we were recording on Tuesday before the Notre Dame game.
There you go.
And so, literally, it's one of those things where I tend to be an overanalyzer and planner on things if I know something's a long way out. That was not the case here. So we've learned as we went, and I had to change things along the way. We were initially recording it in Google Meetings, and that's why the quality was not quite as good as where we record it now, and we didn't even have microphone. Anyway, long and short of it was, and I was making it in Canva for those people that are familiar with that online program, and it's not really made for podcasting. I was just doing what I could. And, week 3, our third episode, it would not export properly. And I was about to pull my hair out. And so I finally just had to start from scratch and remake the whole thing. I mean, we had the recording and all that, but put it all together with the intro and the outro music and all that in a program that's on my Windows computer. Just Clipchamp is what it's called. Just everybody's Windows computer has it. It's very basic. It didn't have any music though, and that's what I was running into an issue with. Canva has some free, like royalty-free music, and not that this podcast is generating any revenue, but if it ever did one day, I'd hate for them to get taken down because of the music. So I just wanted to be future-proof it, and so it's like midnight, and I'm at my wit's end trying to get this thing exported, going, what can I use for music? And the Clipchamp options were terrible. And then it hit me. I was like, what about this AI stuff? I've heard it can make songs. And a friend of mine had sent me some funny songs that it had created one time. Matter of fact, the funny songs I've seen was there's a guy online that has a bit where he takes rock music like Metallica and stuff like that, and he turns it into yacht rock music that sounds like the Doobie Brothers. It's the most ridiculous thing. Anyway,
Okay.
so I had seen that one of those recently, and I'm like, I've got to find where they're doing that. I've got to be able to generate something. So I found this website, and I initially go in there, and it has type a description of what you would like a song to be. So I typed in, well, we're Aggies. Let's do Aggie War Hymn and Bluegrass. I was thinking maybe the Aggie War Hymn is a widely known song. I mean, that AI can pull what the Aggie War. So I typed that in, hit generate, and it generates a song, but it didn't quite do what I thought it would do. It actually generated this just kind of generic Aggie song with lyrics. It used the term war hymn and all that stuff, but it was not the Aggie War Hymn. It was a bluegrass song. So then I thought, well, okay. And I was pretty impressed with the lyrics it came up with. It mentioned College Station. It mentioned a lot of things about Aggies that I didn't even put in the description. So I thought, well, if I just copy and paste our about me part from the, like the description of our podcast on the Spotify app, I'm just going to copy and paste that in there, and it'll generate lyrics and everything. But I guess something got confused in the whole process with AI. I'm not an AI expert. It's the first time I'd ever even logged into this website. So I copy and pasted that in there and hit generate, and it generated that. When I hit play on that song, it had somehow gotten confused, and it sang our description word for word versus creating its own lyrics. And I was hooked right off the bat because I was laughing at how ridiculous it was, and I was tired of jacking with it. I was like, this is it. We're rolling with this. And I didn't even listen to we never let it get to the lyrics, but what's so weird about it, the verse it created is English gibberish. So it's what AI thinks bluegrass English sounds like, but it's not actual words.
Look at Mark's face.
Yeah.
Poor Mark.
Yeah, so anyway, 1 a.m. I was tired of it. I put it on there, and I laughed so hard. I was like, I'm making everybody else listen to this too. If you're going to listen to Trace Amigos, you're going to hear this song. And here we are. I've had my brother, he called me and said, did you sing in your computer in like AI, or not AI, but auto-tune your voice or something? I was like, no, I did not. This is completely artificial intelligence. So anyway, that's how we got the Trace Amigos theme song. So I hope y'all enjoyed that.
Anything's better than Taylor Swift.
I would agree with that.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, so we're going to go into what we predicted before the Notre Dame game, our preseason prediction versus reality, and what we think the rest of the season's going to look like. So I said we were going to go 9-3. We're going to have 2 home losses out of 3 games: Notre Dame, LSU, Texas, and that we were going to lose to Auburn on the road. Okay, I'm scratching the Auburn loss. Okay, I'm not sure that coach is going to be there by the time we get to Auburn.
That's a good point.
So right now I'm still leaning towards 9-3. We still have some tough games. Mississippi State plays hard at home. I'm not taking them for granted. We've still got LSU the following weekend. Then we've got to go play Beamer ball over there in South Carolina. And we saw how they pushed Alabama. And then we've got Texas at the end of the year. So I'm still siding on the side of 9-3 right now. But I will tell you, if we get past Mississippi State and LSU the next 2 weeks, I'm jumping on at least the 10-2 train if we can get past those 2. So that's where I'm at. Mark, tell us about what you said and where you think we are now.
Well, first of all, let's remind people what I said. Predictions are terrible. I hate them. It's so hard to predict stuff because we don't know. I'm not watching film on all these guys. I am, as the weeks go on, we start kind of gathering some film. But beginning of the year, you don't really know. I mean, Matt thought we'd get beat by Auburn. I never thought that was a possibility. I thought Auburn was going to be bad. So who knows, though? I mean, Auburn could have been good. So I said, I really felt like we had 3 wins that were, to me, solid. And these all make sense because they're all, subpar opponents like McNeese, New Mexico State, and Texas. So I feel like those were our 3 wins. So I'm on pace for 100% of my prediction for the record. I think this team finishes 9-3 at worst. Obviously, the Texas and LSU games are going to be tough. Not to mention, you go to South Carolina, and man, that's another world over there. So I think beating Mississippi State and Auburn are must wins at this point because we're a lot better than they are. That doesn't mean it's college football. It's high-level football. When you play high-level football, anything can happen. But I think Elko has built this thing the right way. I think the kids have the right mindset when you listen to what they say. They're repeating some of the same things. We understand we struggle at Mississippi State. We've got to go in one game at a time. So they're all doing the right thing. So I think that bodes well for us. So, man, the sky's the limit for this Aggie team. Are they capable of pulling it off in the stretch, staying healthy? All those things kind of matter. We'll just have to wait and see. And again, it's a one game at a time. Let's go to Mississippi State and get a win there, and then we'll talk about the bad spellers.
All right, Seth, what'd you predict, and where are we sitting?
Well, I predicted 9-3, so we were kind of in the same boat, and I kind of did the cop out. Just said these are the field that I think the 3 losses will come from, of Texas, LSU, Mizzou, Auburn, Florida, and Notre Dame. Well, we're only down to 2 of those left. So for my prediction to be right, we're gonna to have to lose to LSU and Texas, which I'm to the point now where I can see that, but I also can't, because those are home games. And I ain't gonna get too deep in the weeds, but I don't think LSU is that great. I don't think they're the LSU's of old. I think they're gonna have trouble. I think they have trouble stopping. I think that Ole Miss and LSU game we watched the other night was not 2 great teams going at it. I think it was 2 very flawed teams going at it.
I would agree with you.
Both quarterbacks struggled immensely versus each other's defense, which their defense aren't in elite category, when it comes to the statistics and things. I mean, the quarterback for LSU had, I think he had like well below a 50% passing completion rating against, and I mean, anyway, long and short of it is, I do think that I think we're a bad matchup for LSU this year, because their quarterback's not a guy who can hurt you with his legs. He doesn't like having to scramble. He can do it a little bit. I mean, but to me, I watched, Cook come in here with Missouri with that career 65% completion rating and just get throttled by our defense. And I'm like, man, if I'm LSU's quarterback, I'm not really fired up about seeing that film, because they're very similar. And I honestly think Cook is better than LSU's quarterback.
Yeah, everybody's on the Nussmeier train, and he threw for 40%. I'm like, why are we?
He's an anomaly because he can make some unbelievably great throws.
That's right.
He has the ability.
Yes.
I mean, he misses so many things.
Yes.
They fail to
You're
convert
exactly right.
in situations that they should.
That's right, and it's you're right. That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, and honestly, sometimes I wonder, like, he feels like he tries to push it down the field a little too much. So I hope they don't fix that between here and there. Like, every now and then, just take what they give you. But long and short of it is, if we're going to end up 9-3, we're going to have to lose to either. I think if we do end up 9-3, it's a loss to Texas and one of these road games inexplicably. And that's going to be what we're like. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're a one-loss team going into the Texas game. And that is, if you look at Vegas, the people who aren't Aggie homers by any means, that is what they have us favored to do. We are underdogs to Texas right now, but Vegas has us favored in every game leading up to that point, including LSU by a few points. So that's what I'm trying to see. I think one of the hardest things to do with a first-year coach in a place where he's trying to change culture and teach kids how to win is having them do it every week, even in the weeks getting up for the Missouri game is one thing. Getting up for the Mississippi State game off of a bye is another. And so that is the thing that will Elko be able to do that. We know he's trying to. Trying to and pulling it off are different animals. And so if he can do that, if he can truly get these kids to become that system, that team that's just like a faceless opponent, we're going to do the same thing. We have a standard to hit each week. Then we very likely will be a one-loss team going into the Texas game. But if we have a little relapse moment, I could see that happening too. And it wouldn't be the end of the world if it did. I don't want it to happen. But we still are in year one of this new administration. And these kids are having, you got to think about, we saw that snap count deal, and I have an update. At 40% of the snaps were with transfer kids, but the other 60% of snaps are kids who have played 500 football for their previous 2 seasons. They've only experienced 7-5 and 5-7 as their sophomore and junior year, or freshman and sophomore year. And that takes a while to learn how to do it every week, because it is very easy to just become mediocre for a week and blame people for it. Like, that's what kind of permeates sometimes in some of those old cultures. So I think we're sitting pretty to beat my prediction, but it wouldn't shock me if we are 9-3 at the end of the year either.
All right. So before the season, we also picked out MVP predictions. Well, some of us did. Um, Mark Mark said it'll be someone we are not expecting. So I'm gonna let Mark talk about that, but I'm gonna tell you who mine was. Nick Scorton. I know that's like the easiest fruit to pick. I mean, we all knew that guy was a stud, but here's the deal: he's lived up to the hype. A lot of times you have kids come in, you think they're going to be a difference maker, and they're not. This dude is not only preseason All-American. I saw the other day he came out as a midseason All-American. He's got 17 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. But the biggest deal, everybody knew he was a pass rusher. Everybody knew he can get to the quarter. He has 10 tackles for losses on run plays. So that dude is a complete player. He's not just a pass rusher. He's a guy who can play every down. I know they do a lot of rotations, which is great because it keeps everybody fresh. But that dude has more than lived up to the hype, and I hope he just continues. So, Mark, tell us about your preseason MVP and how they are or are not living up to it.
Well, yeah, like I said, I just felt like with such newness of the program that it would be someone we weren't expecting. And there's been some of those guys, but I'm going to have to agree with Matt that right now, if you say the biggest difference maker on this defense, it's been Nick Scorton. The guy is a difference maker. He forces offenses into dealing with some things, and the whole D line's been good. You could put up other D linemen's numbers, and they have good numbers too. I read this stat, by the way. In McNeese, we had 7 quarterback hurries. In Florida, we had 9 quarterback hurries. Against Bowling Green, we had 13. Against Arkansas, we had 15. Just getting better and better. Against Missouri, we had 21 hurries. And so that's the D-line. But I would say right now, if I had to say who the defensive MVP is, it's Nick Scorton. But there's a lot of other guys that are right on the cusp. Will Lee being a lockdown guy over there, he's made some mistakes, but he's done way better than I think people would have thought. I mean, he's wearing 26 at A&M, and that's a big freaking deal when you're a corner wearing 26 in Aggie land, and he's lived up to that. And so, and then there's some other guys, Ratcliffe and some guys like that. Just some.
Hey, Mark! Not only can he cover them, but he can also get a blanket to their hotel room.
Yeah. Oh
yes.
We're bringing Coach Dinkowitz back into it.
Oh, Dink.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
You know what? I do got to give Dink credit for trying to, motivate his players the same way that the 7th grade moms do it, in the locker room on Thursday nights. They're going to go in there and say, did y'all realize the Kilgore Bulldogs got in y'all's locker room and put this stuff in your locker?
I mean,
I'm glad Dinkowitz is on the same level.
That's what you do when you know you can't win on the field with X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes.
Yeah, that's true. At least he was smart enough to know that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, Seth, tell us about yours, boss.
Mine's Connor Wickman, and he's not going to have, even if he goes beast mode the rest of the year, he won't have the final MVP numbers. But what the reason I have Connor Wickman as the MVP, is most valuable player, is because he is the ceiling creator for the program. If he can come in and throw the ball like his potential. I mean, we're tired of hearing of potential, but now he's put together a few good games, so it's starting to feel like, okay, maybe it's not just potential anymore. We're actually going to go do this thing. If that guy can come out there and use his God-given ability to its fullest potential, game after game, week after week, elevate the receivers' play. Those same receivers and don't get me wrong, they're getting better. Props to Coach Wiggins. Every week we're seeing those receivers get a little bit better, including our boy Bussy, who started as raw as you can get. And seeing them get better, but no matter how much better you get as a receiver, you got to have the ball delivered to you appropriately to be realized. And so, if CW can continue to be the way he is, I think he is the most valuable player, whether the stats will say it or not, just because he creates the max ceiling for the whole team. This is a strange college football season that we're at game 6 and 7, and I still have no idea who can win the whole thing. Like, why not us? You know what I mean? Like, if there's a better year for A&M to just go ahead and do it all, it might not be. And this may be the way college football is going to be. I think it is. I think college football is just going to be this way from now on, which is great, because I think chaos is what makes the game beautiful. And so I hope we don't get nulled of the chaos, because it happens so much more frequently. But either way, I think Connor Wickman is the MVP, as far as, like, if we look back on this year and it's something truly special, it's because that man played up to his potential, and so without the numbers, but I think he's the guy who's the gatekeeper to the ceiling of what the program can be. And Adam Cushing, I know he's not a player, but I mean, that guy, sometimes it's a little dangerous when you pair an offensive line coach with a coordinator that literally have never even probably met prior to the season. But goodness gracious, you'd think Cushing and Klein had been working together for a decade. The way this thing has so much, mesh to it. It's been phenomenal to see.
Look, I'm just going to tell you, after watching the O-line for the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, whatever Cushing is getting paid, it needs to be increased.
Ain't enough.
Look, I'm with you. The receivers getting better. Elko said it in his press conference that he thought that was the one position group that's probably improved the most. Not going to argue with the man. He watches a lot more film than I do. I just know it is just such a nice feeling to know that feel confident in the run game, feel confident your quarterback's going to have time to throw it. So, all right, so we're going to talk a little bit about what some people, I hope everybody watched the SEC Inside edition of the Missouri A&M game and got a little insight to Elko and his method of coaching and how he goes about things. But Seth wanted to kind of spend a few minutes talking about that. So, Seth, I know you want to get on your soapbox and brag on our boys, so go for it. And by the way, I love your sign in the back there, run power. I mean, if we want, I know Counter F's been really good to us, but if they want to throw some power in there, I'm good with that too. So,
yeah, I think Le'Veon Moss would vote for this too. If he, I'm sure that guy would be fine with running more power out of the eye as well. So, this SEC Inside episode was incredible. If you find a way to watch it, if you're a fan and you want to see it, get an insight, because A&M does put out the Pulse weekly on YouTube, and it plays on the various sports. And it's our propaganda. That's like, let's make this school look really cool for the recruits. What I liked about SEC Inside was it reminded me of the old NFL films because it was a lot of, they overdid the slow-mo, but they do it really well, which I think football is one of the best slow-mo sports out there. If you just truly slow it down and watch some of the stuff that happens, the physical athleticism that takes place. So they do a lot of slow-mo, and then it's not put out by A&M. So I do wonder sometimes, I wonder if Elko tells the Pulse guys, hey, don't show me chewing so much butt during practice. I don't want that to be for our recruits to watch. But SEC Inside, they're just kind of an independent media source, right? And they did. The first 10 minutes of the episode is, practice, and Elko's mic'd up. And what I got very fired up about was he is very hard on everybody equally, but it's very specific stuff. It's not I've got the camera on me and now I'm just going to bark out some coach speak and yell and look like I'm getting after it. But this guy is on every little detail. He's given reasons why he's coaching it. And one of the things that I was absolutely the most jealous of was the fact that they had quantifiable data to talk about effort.
Yeah, we talked about that, Seth. How nice would that have been when we were coaching high school ball, when a kid's not giving full effort, but all you can do is try to point it out on film, but you don't have any data to prove. And they've got it right there on the field. It looked like they were practicing, kickoff coverage or punt coverage, and they're like, nobody's running over 20 miles an hour. And then what I loved about it is the next rep, there were some guys, and he said, call it out, recognize it, let's go. And I loved it.
We used to do that at Carthage. It was one of the things that we did on defense that I'd never done at any other school. Was on defense, we graded the film, we did all our stats, but one of the things that was mandatory was you had to keep track of your guys' loafs. So if you felt the guy was loafing in a play, you marked it down, and we told those guys every week, you have to answer for these 6 snaps where we have you down as a loaf. And we're going to call you out on it and say, look, ball went over there, you were backside, look, you're just assuming somebody else is going to make the play. And it made a huge difference. We have D tackles.
Hey, what about that? What about that corner for the Cowboys? You think he might have a few of those loafs this last week? Good night.
Those are business decisions at that
time. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But, no, I thought that was great. And I was going to bring it up since you were talking about that on the Pulse, man. I loved that post-game speech that Elko gave to not only call out Wigman, how great he played, obviously, but make sure and give Reed some love, too. Because we were talking about our preseason predictions, guys. I predicted 9-3, and Seth predicted 9-3. And if you'd have told me after game one we were going to have to play with our backup for the next 3 or 4 games, I probably would have changed that prediction. So Reed did a phenomenal job. So it goes back to what Mark talked about, just the culture that he's instilling and the things you're seeing there. So yeah, that's all good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, there was one time on the biometric data he got so in depth. I've watched that intro, I've watched that first 10 minutes about 4 times. I can't get enough of it. So yeah, sorry. He said somebody, one of the kids, I didn't even see who it was, and he said you have to be faster. You need to be at 90% of your top speed, and that ain't it. And so, they're using objectifiable data. They know what their top speeds are because they track them in the games. They track them in live scrimmages. And so it's coming back and telling them, hey, he was at 84% or not. And to me, that is the ultimate, as a nerd, that is phenomenal. As a football nerd, being able to tell a kid, we know exactly how fast you were going. And that wasn't, and y'all know as well as I do this, practice starts to grind. It's hard to notice when they all start to slow down a little bit at the same time.
Well,
and now that you ain't getting away with that anymore.
You always have the brother-in-law deal. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go real hard. If you don't go real hard, then nobody's getting any better. So yeah,
that's right. Doubt. Yeah. One of the times also when somebody ran really hard, he went up to him face to face and he said, "That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to run and go as hard as you can. Got to learn that feeling." Putting that in, the fact that he just harps on that little stuff like that. And he didn't just yell out, you gotta go, give me more effort. It's like blanket milquetoast statements. I loved it. And the other thing I noticed, and I've made some friends who know people, and they told me that Klein and Elko both are down and distance freaks. That they absolutely go nuts about down and distance metrics, coaching it, and in that thing, there's one other thing he talked about more than effort. It was down and distance. He's talking about it to Connor Wickman. He's yelling at a receiver because they didn't get to the left. It was 3rd and 11, and he didn't get the first down. He's talking to one of the DBs. I mean, there was at least 6 occasions I heard him talking down and distance to people, and not just screaming out, "No, the down and distance," and that be the end of the clip. Talking about the why behind it as well, and I'm like, that's how you create. Our football team does look like a high IQ football team now. They do. They play that way for the most part, and those are the reasons why. I mean, just because you see what's being accentuated in practice. And I'm going to tell you, Elko, coming from that New Jersey background, he's got that blue collar. I mean, really his coaching, if you look at how he has worked his way up in the coaching, it was very blue collar. This guy wasn't, he didn't play linebacker for Saban and go right into coaching linebackers right after his NFL career ended. Just shoot right in. This guy has grinded his way to this point. And so, he brings that mentality out. Puts it into the players,
not a politician like some coaches we know.
No. Me and Seth talked about that. And I was watching a podcast the other day with Greg McElroy, the former quarterback for Alabama, and that's what he said about Alabama. He said they just are not playing situationally intelligent football, just situations that previously they would have understood and how to handle. They're not doing that, and so to see our guys actually understanding being coached that is awesome. So all right, well, we're gonna head on to Mississippi State, and guys, I'm gonna tell you, it may be cheaper if you're trying to go to a game. It may be cheaper to go ahead and pay for the gas and the hotel and drive to Starkville this week, because you can get front row seats for $25.
I mean, and for real, crazy. Starkville's a famous place. Evidently, the toothbrush was invented there, because if it had been invented anywhere else, it would have been called the teeth brush.
Mississippi State is coming in at 1-5 on the season, 0-3 in conference. But here's the problem: we can't let up, and I don't think Elko's going to let him. There you go. He's pulling up ticket price. Look at it, $13, $25. Look at that. Elko, yeah, you can tell Elko's already been putting it in their head to not take this team lightly. I'm sure he's talked to them about Vanderbilt and Alabama, South Carolina, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee. You can go all these games, and how hard Mississippi State pushed Georgia just this weekend. And if you listen to the press conference, York even said, we are not good in Starkville. We're 2-4 as a program since we've joined the SEC when we go to Starkville. So they've been harping on that, which is what they need to. Going and watching some film. State bases out of a 3-3-5, but they're going to go to a stack as well. I mean, they're multiple.
You have to, because you can't stop the run in a 3-3-5.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So They roll to that 4-down look when they think things, but they're not very good at that right now. I'm hoping none of the A&M players listen to this because they may not want to practice as hard this week. But opponents are averaging 33 points a game against them. They're giving up over 200 yards on the ground. And even worse than that, they're giving up over 260 yards through the air. So they're just not very good defensively. Through 6 games, they only have 5 sacks on the year. And so I'm hoping our offensive line has another great game. Now they have forced some turnovers. They've had 3 picks and 4 forced fumbles. So they're on the plus side of turnovers with 7. Their leading tackler, which is not usually a good sign, but their leading tackler is their safety, which means for the most part they're getting positive yards before that safety can do anything to help them. And their leading sack guy on the team is a linebacker, Brandon Jennings, 44. And I watched a little bit of the Georgia game. They move him around quite a bit. He'll stand up. He'll put his hand in the dirt. They kind of move him around. I guess he's the one guy that they have that they feel can get to the pass rush. This will be a good test for our O-line just because it is multiple up front. They'll see a 3-down. They'll see a 4-down. So it'll be a good test for our guys. But I have complete confidence. I know it's only 6 games, but Cushing, man, after 6 years of what I've seen in 6 games, that dude has shown me something. So I have little doubt he'll have a great plan for that front. So Seth, what are you seeing?
Well, I wanted to I was going to pop this up there right after you said what you said, but like this was from the press conference yesterday, basically saying we need to look at ourselves, which was music to my ears. I mean, which Elko gives me music to my ears quotes all the time because I think the guy does try to do it the right way in that it's not about an opponent now. We've finally gotten to that point where, and it's really never about that, but you have to put some wins together to get kids to really buy into that too, and we've done it. And it's like, hey, it's about us. It ain't about them. Like, it's Mississippi State, it's LSU, it's South Carolina. That doesn't matter. It's A&M every week. And so that's where – and he reminded them, like, hey, look, you know, we have lost to every school in the conference over the last 2 years or every school on our schedule. So a good reminder in that, you know, at no point should you just decide, oh, yeah, well, this is a done deal. We just got to show up to the game because that's not how it works. I think that, you know, you nailed it. Their defense is bad. It's the worst one in the SEC statistically. You know, I would share this real quick. They are pretty bad defensively. This is, you know, one of these is not like the other when it comes to total defense yards allowed. That is, you know, Mississippi State down there in 16th spot. That is pretty significantly worse than almost just about any other team in the SEC. Last year, I'm pretty sure
per game.
Yeah, that's yards per game. And then when it comes to passing, they are even almost as bad. They've given up 12 passing touchdowns this year. The highest anybody else has given up is 9. That's in the SEC. That's Vanderbilt. The average rating QB rating against them is 160. I don't even know. That sounds like almost a perfect rating, I think. Anyway, so it's
like an
it's been a rough
NCAA
year for
game on
them.
your PlayStation.
Yeah, no doubt. So what I'm going to say is to kind of turn it back on to us is like, what should we, if we're going to be like, we just left this game doing exactly what we wanted to do, what do we want to do? I think we need to go out there and we need to take the top off of them about 2 or 3 times. To Noah, to Bussy, I don't care who it's to, Theo, but I would love to see us get behind. I would love to see us put things on film that make defensive coordinators go, Missouri was not a fluke. These cats can sling it. And now Connor's shoulder is 100%, and he's going to hit these deep balls, and we've got to keep our safeties back to stay over the top of Noah, to stay over the top of Bussy. And why am I saying that? Because, hey, we got to be able to do that to win games, but that's only going to make more room for Moss in the game for the stable. If we can put that threat to where they can't just put guys in the box. Go ahead, Mark.
Like Matt said, if you do that and those safeties have to play at 10 and 12 and they're bailing or they're trying to stay over the top of stuff, they'll make the tackle on Le'Veon at 12 and 8 and good luck. Or
and eventually you won't want to make that tackle because that's a big dude.
That's what I'm saying. Or they're going to have to make a business decision of whether they want to tackle that dude or not.
That's right. Like those McNeese guys.
When you're losing like Mississippi State and that happens, you're like, man, I ain't tackling that guy. We're going to lose anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's
Even if
that's
you
what I
do
would
tell
love to
them,
see.
right, Mark? Even if
Yeah,
you do tell them.
yeah. They'll be like, man, that's what you
Even if they're
linebackers are
told.
for. That's what
Ain't
you
nobody told
Yeah,
me.
linebackers are
yeah.
for.
Yeah, and Carson Beck just last week went 36 of 48 for 459 and 3 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he had 400 yards passing early in the third quarter. And I watched a little bit of that game, and then I read some stuff online, some things, and it sounded to me like Kirby was just like treating it basically like I said, like, hey, we want to go into this game and we want to work on our vertical passing game. It's like a glorified scrimmage, basically. I'm pretty sure they had the whole defense subbed late second quarter, and I know they gave up some points to Mississippi State, but I don't think Kirby treated that game like it was the Super Bowl at all. I think he did it as it was almost like he's like, hey, we got a
Kirby
scrimmage
knew who he was playing the next week. Kirby knew
That's
who
right.
he was
That's
playing.
right.
He was trying to put some stuff on film. I get it.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so Mark, tell us about A&M's defense versus this spread offense.
Well, first and foremost, I want to go back to something you said about the leading tackler being a safety. And do we know who A&M's leading tacklers are?
Your boy York is the leading tackler.
No, that's actually wrong. At this point in the season, it is Nick Gordon and Shamar Stewart. They are tied. So
Okay.
2 D linemen. So that's a big contrast. And yeah, York's right there, but big contrast.
That's unheard of.
The leading tacklers. So just so you know, we're not that team. So, but it's okay if your safety's making those tackles and he's a spin down guy and he's making them and he's got tackles for losses and things. It's okay too. We're not going to pick on those safeties that come support the run. We love that because I was a cover 2 guy for years, and then I was forced into the flat foot read, and I learned real quick how important backside B gaps safeties are. Wow, makes a huge difference. Won me a state championship against Waco Lavago because our player of the game was backside safety, and that's because the cutback lane, he was there every time. Mississippi State is a spread team. I actually feel a little bad for them for the situation that occurred to them and where they're at. They only run it just to keep you honest. They're old school spread, or maybe that's part of the air raid. I don't know. But they only run it to keep you honest. So stop the run, and they're going to throw it. That's what they want to do. Their quarterback is coming off the best half of football he's ever had, which was the second half against Georgia, and he's only a true freshman. So there is a little more potential with this Mississippi State offense than we have seen in the past. So just understand that. And that's at Georgia. He's going to be a little more comfortable at home, and now he's got a good half under his belt, and they're going to try to build off that. So playing at home is going to help them. I think their offense is better with him, but we got to get pressure on him. And again, I read you the hurries. And we've gotten better and better and better at really putting the pressure. And that is Elko's MO from day one, from when he was with us and when he was everywhere he's been, is unique ways to get pressure on the quarterback. That doesn't always pay off in the sack. But where it does pay off is you get to him and you're in his face a lot, and then all of a sudden those pinpoint throws just aren't quite as good, and I think we have to do that. We can make him look like a true freshman that he is. That will help us a ton. I do expect, with their head coach being an offensive guy, spread guy, that's a guru, I do expect to see some rail concepts based on what I've seen from A&M on film, and I expect to see this one. This is the number one thing. I'm a defensive guy, but I know when I watch offensive coordinators what hurts us. I've done enough self-scout. And you are going to see a running back rail concept, because I don't know if we cover it well or not. And so I think that they will probably see some of the film I've seen with the back out being a drop down right now, open. Our linebackers are a little bit, a step behind that. And I think you're going to see some back out stuff, and then I think you're going to see some back out rail. And so we're going to have to be better, and hopefully we got better at that. If I saw it, our coaches saw it, so they probably worked on it. So I will say this, Levy, his concepts typically, he's different than just a typical air raid guy. Air raid guys are going to run 19 versions of some kind of mesh concept, and I think that the running back rail will come out of a mesh concept. But one of the things I've seen from him on film is he likes to build his game plan to the defense he's playing. He does a really good job of that. Not a lot of offensive coordinators do that. Scott Surratt does it. I mean, coaches call me when they're playing Scott now, and they're like, where does he come up with these new plays each and every week? And I'm like, yeah, he built that for you, buddy. He is innovative in that. And so I think his game plan will try to attack us in places that he sees where we're weak. But again, they're going to have to execute it. We cannot give up big plays. We've done that several times and almost won a game now. We give up. We're going to have to eliminate that. And we have to eliminate the guys that are running wide open in the secondary. The Missouri quarterback missed it. What are we watching? Mesh rail?
Running back mesh rail, yeah.
That is running back mesh rail. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So they're going to run a mesh concept in the middle, and they're going to pull the back out, and it's really that's designed to pick that inside linebacker off. They didn't have to
can't get out here.
He's smugged up, but watch it. You watch the guy that's smugged. He's going to go, oh, back out. The guy didn't even have to get in his way, and I think we're going to see that.
And that's the Washington Commanders with Mr. Kingsbury calling those plays.
Please don't call them the Commanders, Seth. Please do not call them the Commanders.
Yeah,
this is a no-woke conversation. We are not going to call
Washington football team. Washington football team.
Redskins.
And they should have stuck with that. I thought that was actually catchy.
But let me put some new ideas for game planning on the defensive side. New thoughts, innovative thoughts on the defensive side. Stop the run. Get pressure on the quarterback, limit big plays, and get off the field on third down. I mean, these are
it's groundbreaking stuff.
Groundbreaking concepts. But again, that's what you do. And I love the third down thing that you're talking about. One of the things that we taught constantly at Carthage was exactly what you're talking about. Know the down and distance. We played a team here in East Texas, sort of a rivalry, although we've won like 9 out of the last 10 against them. But one of the things that we see on film is if it's 3rd and 6 or more and they throw the ball, it is what we call a chain route. It means it's a route that's going to be at the chains. It's going to be something towards the sideline at the chains. And we let our defensive backs know, guys, it's 3rd and 6. You cannot let the guy put pressure on you, break down at 7 yards, catch it and step out of bounds and get them off the field. So I love that down and distance thought because it changes the way you play at different times. Can it get you hurt at times? Sure. But 9 times out of 10, it'll get you off the field. And that's what we always said at Carthage. Get them off the field. Get them off the field. Just get them off the field. We don't want their offense on the field a long time because that hurts us in the long run. So, stop the run. Pressure the quarterback. Get them off the field.
Well, the good thing is we've done a really good job of that here of late. So hopefully they'll continue with that game plan. All right. So predictions for this week. I'm gonna say 35-10 Aggies. I think so. Klein, and I agree with what Seth said. I think Klein's gonna make a point to really push the ball down the field some this game. Because when we get into the LSU and the South Carolina games, we need that on film, so those guys will respect that and then open up more lanes for Moss. So I'm hoping, and I'm thinking it's going to be similar to where we sling the ball around a lot in the first half. In the second half, we hand it off to big number 8 and let him take us home with it. My pick of the game, my player of the game, I'm going with the freshman out of East Texas, Bussey. He was the leading receiver last game. And I think he's had a touchdown this year, 1. But I think he's going to get 2 TDs this weekend. And it could come from the run game because they do motion him into the backfield and do that. It could come from the pass game. Or maybe, just maybe, he pops one on a kick return. So that's my pick of the week. So, Mark, what's your prediction?
So I'm going to be the bad guy here, and I'm going to say we struggle in Starkville. Again, groundbreaking. And I'm going to say we give up 24 points, which I think would be a mass catastrophe based on who we are. But we give up 24 points, but we get the job done. I don't know that it's close until the end. I think we kind of have it in hand. But I think we win 31-24, and then it's bring on the bad spellers, and then we get back to who we are in big games. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Look, I understand if our offense comes out and does what it needs to do, we could really make these guys look bad. Um, I'm going to go with a little bit of a struggle on the road after a bye week and 31-24. My player of the game, I'm going to go way out on a limb for real here. And I'm going to say that York is our player of the game. The guy's just been improving.
He has.
I really think he's going to. He wants it really bad, and I just don't know that he was coached well. Not to pick on coaches, I hate to do that, but he's being coached really well, and I've seen his growth. So I'm going to go with him as our player of the game. Again, I think we get it done in Starkville, and I hope that I'm wrong on the score, and I would be really happy if I am. But I just think we have a little bit of a bye week hangover, and going into Starkville, and with their confidence that they kind of have with their moral victory against Georgia, it causes us to struggle a little bit early.
Okay, Seth, what you got?
We're 15-point favorites from Vegas, so that's kind of an interesting line. It's kind of, that's what Vegas does. They make it hard to pick, right? Like I can't tell.
That's how they make money.
Take the over. Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough
But,
economy.
I think we are.
People in Mississippi can't bet.
Good point. I think we're going to cover because I think Elko. I think he wants this team to learn how to do that. To come out and just bury somebody you're supposed to bury. And so last week I don't think anybody expected to bury Missouri. Like I think he was the. We did talk about it a little bit, but this is one where you come off 2 weeks. I have a feeling that that he's going to want to want to put a message out there, and it ain't a message to college football. This is a message to the field house. Yeah, this is a message to, hey, we're going to show up and dismantle this team. It doesn't matter who this was, 2 weeks off and all that. So anyway, I'm going to say 44-13, which would be a 31-point, almost doubling the line or the favorites. And I'm excited to see Marcel Reed get a ton of snaps. I can see him play most of the fourth quarter if that was to go down. Let him get back in there because I know he's chomping at the bit after he's watched film. He's seen Connor hit some of those passes that he's missed. And so something about that, when you see somebody go out and do it and you're like, oh, I did see it on film, coach talked about it, and he just went and did it, I just feel like it's going to be easier for him. The game's going to feel a little slower, you know what I mean, when he goes out there now.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to put player of the game Noah because I think he's already had some big plays, but if I'm A&M, I'm trying to get him over the top early and often, and I think we're going to connect on a couple of them, so I can see him having a couple of big, long touchdown catches behind the whole secondary, and I think that would be, if we could do all that, check all those boxes, we couldn't ask for a better situation in Starkville. Exercise the demons and put some things on film that the rest of the week or the rest of the schedule has to take and honor and allow us to run the ball at will.
I'll say this, Seth. I think this is your over-the-top game. You have a 3-3-5 team that's used to throwing 5 guys back there and staying over the top of everything. And then now they're going to be forced to kind of bring in maybe an extra D lineman or walk safeties up. And now they're going to be doing some things differently. And so there's going to be some opportunities to get some guys over the top.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Like it, guys, like it. So this is Trace Amigos signing out. And hope you enjoyed it, guys. We just want to say again, thank you again for listening, for sharing, for commenting, all those things. Really appreciate it. Just 3 old coaches like to talk football and talk to Aggies. So we'll see y'all next week. Gig 'em.
Gig 'em, less cowbell.
Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.